Stu Can't Fly, Part 1. So the first thing we're going to do is set up our area here, our room here, to actually accept some human occupants. And so what I'm going to do is start off by, so here's my work area. This has the whole thing. That's this render. I kind of stuck it in a folder so I can turn it off and on and switch between things more easily. And I already started a little bit of a color fill for the desk. So that's over there. I'm going to start off with a new folder just by clicking the layer group icon, create a new group. And I'm going to rename that behind stuff. And that's exactly what's going to happen. So I'm going to add a blank layer mask by clicking right down here. And currently that's going to do nothing. If I drop something inside of there, it would have no effect whatsoever. And so what I'm going to do is come in here and start with the table. I want Stu to be able to stand behind the table. And so I'll come in here and select one leg and hold shift. The next one. And again, hold shift so we can grab more. More. There's 3 of 4 legs, and shift and select the last remaining bit right there. And then we're going to go ahead and add in the table itself. So come around here, we can always, this is the beauty of masks, we can always tweak this later. And the great thing is that because of the way we're doing it, if we have to tweak anything later because things aren't tight enough, or they're too loose, or they're too tight, all we have to do, we don't have to go and retweak every single mask we did. We just retweak the one mask that's putting everything behind this. And that makes our life a whole lot simpler. So we're going to come around here like this. And this will be reusable for anything at all that we stick behind here. Whether it's a poster that they ask us to put up here, or somebody sitting behind there. Now I haven't decided yet if I'm going to, I don't think there's enough room where anybody would actually be standing behind the chair, but I may include it anyway, we'll see. We may start off without it and only include it later if we need it. And again, that's the beauty. All we have to do is go and add one little bit of area to this mask. You'll notice I'm not using the magic wand anywhere. It makes a very, very nasty shape. Okay, so on this layer mask here, since I don't want Stu to show up where the table is, because he's supposed to be behind the table, what I'm going to do is fill this mask with black here, and since black's currently my foreground color, if it's not, I can hit the letter D to go to my default colors, and the letter X to bring black up to the front. That switches the foreground and background colors. And now I'm going to fill with the foreground. I'm going to fill with black that selection on the layer mask, which is going to be Option Delete on a Mac or Alt Backspace on a PC. Now I can deselect. Now what you'll see here is if I came in here and added a layer inside this behind stuff layer, and let's say this was Stu. So here's Stu doing his best impression like this. And they say actually Stu needs to walk around behind the table. So Stu goes da 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 da. He walks over, he shows everybody, hey, look at the chart right here. Da, 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 da. I'm going to come over here and have a sit down. And he goes thunk and sits down on the chair. Then he walks back over. So anything we do, anywhere we put it, drop it right in there. And actually, I can tell from this, that little bit of white edge, our mask isn't quite close enough right there on the edge. So I'm just going to go ahead and come in here with a little bit more selection. Right around, probably only need to do it right here on this outer edge. Make sure I'm on the mask. Whoa! What happened to Stu? Well, I filled with the wrong color. That's what I need to show a bit more, because what I'm doing is showing more of what's sitting behind it. So, undo is your friend. Okay, so this is fake Stu, and I'm going to go ahead and get rid of him now. Now, I prepared 2 new perspective grids for in here, and these are a little bit different than the previous ones. If we figure these people aren't spending tons of money on architecture, so they've probably got 8-foot ceilings, right? So, I evenly spaced out from the top to the bottom, put 7 things in between. That means that each green line is a 1-foot marker starting from the floor. So there's 1 foot tall, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 feet, and 8 feet at the ceiling. This will help us with scale, because we know that Stu is right at 6 feet tall. Actually, he's about 6'1", 6'2". And this way, we have some kind of sense of measurement, so we know how tall we should make that dry erase board, assuming that a dry erase board is 3 to 4 feet tall. We know how tall to make Stu in relation to everything. And that's going to make things a lot more believable. And to make it a lot easier to see all this stuff, we're going to go ahead and take those 2 perspective grids, and we're going to drop them right into, you guessed it, the Behind Stuff folder. And now, they're back there behind the table, and that makes it a lot easier. I'm going to reduce the opacity on these way down. That way, even when I do need them, I don't have to stare at it quite so much. So these are there. I don't think that Stu would need to be behind this chair. However, we can make our life easier again by using this exact same Behind Stuff layer to keep us from having to mask off the whiteboard that's going to go in here. So, that way it can overlap the chair by a tiny bit, and we don't have to worry about it anymore. So, I'll go ahead and start with the desk, because, well, the desk wouldn't be part of it either. Get this, and we'll fill that with black. And then we will come in here, and I could just do this with a brush since we're doing a mask, but with so many little corners and nooks and crannies, it's easier just to go ahead. It takes longer doing it this way, but I have to do a lot less touch-up going around this way. So we're going to go ahead and come around, grab the chair here. Sorry for making you sit through the long version of this, but sometimes it's better to not have a finished casserole in the oven behind you, where the process itself is actually more instructive than anything else. So, and sometimes it helps to know that, okay, this stuff really does take everybody else a long time too. It's not just me. I've always thought it was like a rare treat when the few times I've ever gotten to see somebody else work. It's kind of cool to see what somebody else is doing for once. And that way you can kind of look at your stuff and say, okay, my way's better, or okay, their way's better. Why am I doing it my way? Learn stuff, change stuff, and every once in a blue moon get some confirmation that you're actually doing things the right way. And really rarely that maybe you actually came up with a cooler idea on something and somebody else did. It happens from time to time. Okay, we'll make that go away. One little bit of an arm here. Now, if you are not exceptionally good friends with these selection tools, I recommend doing them in much smaller pieces than I'm doing. That way, if you make a mistake or they go nuts, you only have to undo 5 minutes worth of work instead of